You might have heard of him, the man who spent 27 years in jail, and when he came out, instead of taking revenge, he offered his oppressors forgiveness. You've probably heard of him, Nelson Mandela, a name synonymous with freedom and forgiveness. What if I told you there's a lesser-known story about him that most people do not know? A story about how he kept going when all hope seemed lost? He was born in 1918 in the small village of Muveso, South Africa. Now back then, South Africa was a mess. There was this horrible system called apartheid. Think of it like a bad house party where only some people were allowed to dance based on the color of their skin. Black South Africans were treated like second-class citizens. They couldn't vote, own land, or even go to certain schools or beaches. It was like they were invisible. Our boy Nelson was like, yo, that's not cool. So Nelson went to study law and soon became a leader in the African National Congress, a group fighting for equality. At first, he and his group tried to fight for change without violence, like asking the government nicely to change the rules. But as the years passed, the government kept cracking down on them, beating protesters and taking away their rights. So Nelson's group started supporting armed resistance, which got them labeled as terrorists. And in 1964, Nelson got arrested. Ow. The trial lasted 6 months, with Nelson defending himself and his 2 co-defendants. They were charged with sabotage and conspiracy to overthrow the government. The judge overseeing the case had already made up his mind. He sentenced Nelson and his friends to life in prison, basically saying, "We're not going to take your freedom for a little while. Nope, we're going to take it for good." Talk about a party foul. For the next 27 years, Nelson became a prisoner on Robben Island, a small island off the coast of Cape Town. Imagine being locked up in a tiny cell for decades, allowed out only for an hour a day. That was his life. He worked in a quarry, breaking rocks. But even in that, he found a way to resist. He and the other prisoners refused to use the special tools provided. They did it the old-fashioned way, with hammers and chisels. It took them 3 hours to break a rock using these tools, but they didn't care. It was their way of saying, "We won't do what you want us to do." But why did they do it? What kept them going? Well, Nelson had this incredible belief in something bigger than himself, a belief in freedom and equality. This belief gave him strength when he was weak and kept him going when all hope seemed lost. He knew that one day his time would come. As the years passed, Nelson's fame grew. People around the world started to notice his bravery and his commitment to his beliefs. They put pressure on the South African government to release him. Finally, in 1990, after 27 years, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison a free man. Now, here's the thing. Some people might have expected him to be angry, to want to punish those who had wronged him. I mean, who wouldn't be angry after spending almost 3 decades in prison? But Nelson didn't take the revenge path. Instead, he took the high road, forgave his oppressors. He didn't want to be a symbol of hate and revenge. He wanted to be a symbol of hope and forgiveness. And you know what? It worked. His leadership helped bring an end to apartheid, and South Africa became a free country. Nelson Mandela became the first black president of South Africa in 1994. Imagine that. The son of a chief from a small village became the leader of an entire nation. He used his power to bring people together, to heal a deeply divided country. He didn't blame or shame anyone, didn't hold grudges. He focused on building a better future for everyone. In 2013, Nelson Mandela died. He was 95 years old. People from all over the world came to pay their respects. They cried, and they celebrated the life of an extraordinary man. He was a freedom fighter, a peacemaker, a man who turned suffering into strength. So remember Nelson Mandela, the man who spent 27 years in prison, and when he came out, instead of taking revenge, he offered his oppressors forgiveness. That's a story worth telling and remembering. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave a like. Share with your friends and subscribe so you never miss out on any of our stories. Until next time, stay curious.